This is Debi and Dr. Rob, and we have some questions to answer today.
That's right.
By the fire in our beautiful home in Santa Barbara. This question is from E in Los Angeles, California. She writes, "You say that our outer results are a reflection of our inner world, which I believe. I am totally perplexed because in the last year, I've been involved in several emotionally unavailable men, but I feel like I'm very emotionally available and ready to be vulnerable and ready to make that lifelong commitment. Why are these guys I'm attracted to not available?" Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question and a common one. And it has to do with the unconscious mind, the way we understand it. In Jungian Psychology, there's an archetype called the inner Adam. Actually, Jung called it the animus. But he represents that part of your psyche that allows you to connect at a true level with the opposite sex. Now, when you are unconscious of that aspect of your psyche, the men that you will attract will simply reflect your unconscious tendencies. That's why people fall into those patterns that they repeat the same pattern over and over. Even though consciously they're trying to change and trying to look for different kinds of people, it doesn't work.
We look for different places. Maybe if I'm in a different place, or maybe I'm just meeting people in bars, or meeting people on Match.com, or maybe if I find the right dating service, or and then sometimes it's like maybe I'm saying the wrong thing or behaving the wrong way. Maybe I'm putting off the wrong vibe, and it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with this aspect of our unconscious. And so how do we know what's in our unconscious, right? We don't know, so we look at our results. And if your results are showing you unavailable men, there's something that points back to this element of your psyche called the inner Adam, that we call the inner Adam, that is showing you this part of your own psyche and how to and why you're getting those results. Now, the why is a deep question that we can only answer with you one-on-one, or if you're in one of our programs. But what's a good place for someone to start to access this inner Adam of theirs if you're a woman? And men have an inner Eve. So if you're a man or a woman, how do you access this part of your psyche so that you can really make a transformation in your love life?
Well, there's three ways to see the unconscious, that is, see what's invisible to us. One is through dreams and dream work. The other one is through visualizing and visualization, which are kind of meditative techniques. But the third one you can start using today, and it is basically looking at what is the emotion that arises when you think about attracting emotionally unavailable men.
Like when they reject her, or when they don't want the commitment that she wants, the feeling that arises when she thinks about that and when responds to that.
Yeah, it's like what are the thoughts and feelings that come up when you were writing this question down? What is that feeling about? Now, underneath that feeling, once you start to examine it with non-judgment, that is, you're not buying into the story that the mind makes up about that feeling. You're simply examining it in kind of a neutral way. Once you start to dig deeper and go underneath that feeling, you'll start to get at what's called the shadow, what Jung called the shadow mind. And in that shadow, you start to see why you've been getting the results you've been getting. And it starts to change.
Yeah, so try that, and those of you who have a similar issue, you're not liking the results you're getting, is to look at the feeling that result has triggered in you and start examining that. And the best course of action, according to us, is you look inward. A tendency is to change something outside, to change our conscious thinking, but by looking inward, we can really change everything in our life. So great question, and we'll see you next time for another question, and thank you for tuning in.